Today we're going to be comparing three of the most talked about $200 ANC headphones. We have the JBL E65BTNCs, the Sennheiser's 4.50BTNCs, and the Sony WH-CH700N. This lineup is particularly interesting because I feel there's no obvious winner here. And since both the Sennheisers and Sonys went on sale on Prime Day for less than $100, I'm willing to bet these two headphones are going to go on sale again on Black Friday. And if that's the case, drop some turkeys down below and let's get this video started. The Sennheiser headphones are actually the least expensive headphones here, retailing for $180, whereas both the Sony and JBL headphones retail for $199.99. If you want to pick either of these headphones up, I'll have links in the description below, and if you use the links, it really helps out the channel. I suggest you check them out because these headphones routinely go on sale. And if you want to learn more about either of these headphones, then watch their full reviews, and check out the numerous shelf down below. First, let's get the small stuff out of the way. All three of these headphones charge via a micro USB port, and both the Sennheisers and JBLs have a 2.5mm audio jack, whereas the Sonys have a 3.5mm audio jack, which I personally prefer. The Sennheisers come included with a softshell carrying case that zips up and has an inside so you can store your cables, and the JBLs come included with a carrying pouch. But unfortunately, the Sonys don't bring a carrying pouch whatsoever. But if you do plan on traveling on a regular basis with either of these headphones, I highly advise you invest in a hardshell carrying case. The most important thing we're going to have to compare between these three headphones is going to be their design and fit. All three of these headphones are mostly made out of plastic and have full leather ear cups, but their build quality, ear cup design, and use of other materials highly differentiate these headphones from one another. Even though the Sennheisers are the cheapest headphones here, I feel they have the best build quality and they're also the best looking headphones here. The plastic body panels on these headphones have very tight tolerances, and I really like the padded silicone underneath the headband. It helps keep these headphones in place. The JBLs have the second best build quality here, and their headband is completely covered in a fabric mesh. And finally, the Sonys have the least impressive build quality here. Body panels aren't as perfectly aligned as the Sennheisers, and the faux leather on the ear cups and headband feels much cheaper than the faux leather used on the other headphones. But don't think for a second that the Sonys are going to fall apart on you. I'm just saying that the Sennheisers have the best build quality here. But now let's take a closer look at these ear cups. The Sonys have the biggest and most spacious ear cups here. The ear cups on the JBL are slightly smaller, but they also do a pretty good job of encasing your ears. But they aren't as spacious as the Sony ear cups. And finally, there's the Sennheiser ear cups, which are the most cramped ear cups here, and they have the most padding. The padding on the Sennheisers doesn't cause overheating if you're just sitting and listening to music, but overheating is an issue if you walk around with these headphones on. Since the Sonys have the least amount of padding in contact with your skin, these headphones actually have the least amount of overheating. And personally, I really like the padding on the Sonys because the padding is pretty firm, whereas the padding on the JBLs is just too soft, so you constantly have to fluff them back up again. When it comes to fit, the Sonys are the most comfortable headphones here to wear. All three of these headphones fit a little snug if you have a bigger head like me, but since the ear cups on the Sonys are the most spacious, they should fit most people just fine. So for those reasons, the Sony 700Ns are big head approved. The Sennheiser headphones are also big head approved, but they do fit a little more snug than the Sony headphones, but they are nowhere near as tight as the JBL headphones. But just remember, since the Sennheiser headphones have so much padding, they do feel more cramped and they might rest on your earlobes. But unfortunately, the JBL headphones are the least comfortable headphones here. They have way too much clamping force and they just never seem to rest comfortably on my head. Even though the ear cups on the JBL headphones swivel a good deal, they don't pivot enough, and as a result, they don't evenly press against your head when you put them on, and instead, they place a lot of pressure on the anterior portion in your ear. And this can get pretty annoying. And personally, I hate headphones that use this type of hinge for their ear cups, because the Beats Studio 3s are also guilty of this. Because in comparison, the Sony and Sennheiser headphones have this fork design that holds the ear cups, and this allows the ear cups on both headphones to pivot and swivel more than enough to comfortably accommodate most head types. And more importantly, they press even amounts of pressure around your ears when you put them on. Now let's talk about battery lives, because it's all over the place with these headphones. The JBLs have the worst battery life here with a claimed battery life of 24 hours, But with ANC turned on, these headphones barely manage to hit 14 hours of playback time. The Sennheisers have a claimed battery life of 25 hours, and with ANC turned on, these headphones have no problem getting a little more than 20 hours of playback time. But then there's the Sony 700Ns that have a claimed battery life of 35 hours, which is way above average for headphones. And with ANC turned on, these headphones have had no problem averaging a little over 30 hours of playback time on a full charge. And these headphones are the only headphones here with quick charging. Even though it's not amazing, a 10-minute charge from a dead battery will get you 1 hour of juice. Regarding Bluetooth connections, all three of these headphones have stable connections that don't skip and have no problems going through multiple walls. But the Sennys have the least amount of latency, so these headphones are the best headphones here for watching videos. Whereas the Sonys have a lot more latency, so I wouldn't recommend these headphones for watching videos. Now, when it comes to active noise cancellation, out of all of these headphones, the JBLs are able to block out the most noise here. But they have a considerable amount of cabin pressure. So much, in fact, that I can only go a few minutes with these headphones on before needing to either pop my ears or just needing to take a break. Whereas the ANC on both the Sonys and Sennheisers are able to block out the same amount of noise, but the noise cancellation on the Sonys is more impressive because it has very little to no cabin pressure, whereas the Sennys do have a little bit of cabin pressure, but is much more manageable than JBL's.
Noise cancelling. Noise cancelling.
The ANC on the JBLs does a decent job of blocking out both constant low-frequency sounds like road noise and higher-frequency sounds like chatter. But like I said, their cabin pressure just makes these headphones very uncomfortable to wear for long periods of time. The ANC on the other two headphones does a decent job of blocking out road noise, but does struggle a bit when it comes to blocking out voices. Both the ANC on the Sonys and Sennheisers will work just fine on a bus ride commute, but don't expect them to be amazing if you're in a cafe or something. But since the ANC on the Sonys are able to block out as much noise as the Sennheisers with much less cabin pressure, then the win has to go to Sony. And finally, let's talk about sound quality. I actually think the JBLs are the worst sounding headphones here. Their soundstage is very narrow, they don't sound as clear, and they have very little bass. Their sound signature also has too much of an emphasis on treble, so these headphones do sound a little bright. And unfortunately, these JBL headphones don't connect to JBL's headphones app, so you can't change their EQ settings. The Sennheisers have a neutral sound signature, and for the most part they sound very good. They sound very clear and they have enough bass that should make most people happy. And unlike JBL's headphones, they don't start to sound bright if there are a lot of vocals or if the highs really start going. But for the best listening experience, I highly advise you listen to these headphones with their ANC turned off, which you can deactivate by pressing the volume up and volume down button together for a few seconds. And finally, there's the Sony headphones, which sound equally as good with noise cancellation turned on or off. Since these headphones connect to Sony's headphones app, you can make them sound however you want by either selecting from a few pre-made EQ settings, or you can now make your own, which was a feature I was asking for when I first reviewed these headphones a few months ago. And if you crank the bass all the way up, these headphones are going to have considerably more bass than the other two headphones here. Now, as a disclaimer, the 4.50s do connect to Sennheiser's CapTune app, but this app only changes the EQ settings on any music you have stored locally on your phone. If you stream your music like the majority of people do these days, this app isn't going to be very helpful. And the last thing I want to touch on here is controlling your music playback. I also feel the Sonys have the best control buttons here. They have a very easy to use rocker knob and volume rocker combo that's easy to find and allows you to skip through your music very quickly. The Sennheisers have a similar setup, but since these buttons are so small, they're a little harder to find and to tell apart, but they also get the job done. And personally, I just don't like the control buttons on the JBLs. Even though the control buttons are easy to find and to tell apart, I hate that in order to skip or go back a track, you have to press and hold the volume up or volume down button. This just takes considerably longer than the other two headphones. Instead, I would like if we could just double tap or triple tap the center button. So plainly said, I think that out of these three headphones, the JBL E65BTNCs are a hard pass, mostly because they just don't fit well. When choosing between headphones, fit is the most important thing to take into consideration. But also added with the fact that these headphones have way too much cabin pressure and their audio quality is lackluster, I just can't recommend them. But choosing between the Sennheiser's 4.50 BTNCs and the Sony's WH-CH700N is a little harder. They both fit well, but the Sonys are a little more comfortable. But the Sennheisers have the better build quality and design. The ANC on both of these headphones block out the same amount of sound, but the Sonys do it with less cabin pressure. And even though both of these headphones sound pretty good, having the ability to adjust the EQ on the Sonys is a huge plus. I feel the Sonys are the safe buy here, but if you want something that's built a little better and something that looks cooler, then you can't go wrong with the Sennheisers either. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. Support the channel by clicking on the links down below, and I'll catch you next time.